What if I told you survival was just the beginning of a far more brutal game? That victory was a gilded cage, not freedom. Ji-hyun, rich beyond measure, hunted the architects of his torment, believing money and force could break their system. But here's the truth. He was caught in their web, a pawn in a game far larger than he imagined. For 2 years, he chased shadows, blinded by vengeance, while the game watched, waited, and prepared to draw him back in. He forgot the most crucial lesson. They don't wait to be found. They find you. He tried to dismantle them with force, but violence only breeds more violence. Every step Ji-hyun took was a step deeper into their trap. He thought he was hunting them, but he was the one being hunted. They took everything. His freedom, his hope, and now, his friend. The game was never about money. It was always about control. And now, Ji-hyun is back where he started, a number, a pawn, trapped in their deadly game. But what if I told you that even in this abyss of despair, a spark of defiance remains? That even when stripped of everything, the human spirit can still ignite a rebellion. In fact, those who have lost everything are the ones who have nothing left to fear. They become the most dangerous. Because when you take everything from a person, you give them the freedom to take everything back. It's not the fear of death that drives him now. It's the burning desire to expose the truth, to break the cycle, to give those who have been exploited a chance at true freedom. When faced with ultimate oppression, humanity will fight back. Chapter 1. The Weight of Loss. Loss isn't a concept, it's a physical weight. It settles in your chest, a cold, hollow ache that no amount of wealth or vengeance can fill. Ji-hyun knew this intimately. He carried the ghosts of every fallen player, but Yang-bae's absence was a gaping wound, a constant reminder of his failure. In the desolate landscape of the game, where life was a commodity and death a spectacle, Yang-bae stood as an anomaly, a beacon of fragile humanity. Her kindness, her unwavering belief in the good that remained, was a stark contrast to the brutal pragmatism that governed their existence. It wasn't just death, it was the theft of hope, the snuffing out of a gentle soul in a world of brutal indifference. Chapter 2. The Gnawing Guilt. Imagine the crushing guilt that gnawed at him, the knowledge that he couldn't protect the one person who still saw humanity in him. In the twisted logic of the game, strength was paramount, vulnerability a fatal flaw. Yet Yang-bae's vulnerability was her strength, her unwavering empathy, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. Ji-hyun, hardened by the relentless trials, had begun to believe that compassion was a luxury he couldn't afford. But Yang-bae, with her quiet persistence, chipped away at his cynicism, reminding him of the man he once was, the man he risked losing entirely. Her death was a brutal awakening, a stark reminder of the cost of complacency, the price of surrendering to despair. Chapter 3. A Burning Desire for Retribution. The burning desire for retribution wasn't just about justice. It was a desperate attempt to claw back a piece of what he'd lost, to erase the image of Yang-bae's lifeless eyes. It was a primal scream against the injustice of her fate, a furious denial of the game's power to extinguish the light of human kindness. The rage wasn't a blind fury. It was the raw, unadulterated scream of a soul shattered by injustice. It was the culmination of every loss, every betrayal, every moment of despair he had endured. It was a righteous anger, a burning need to hold those responsible accountable for the suffering they had inflicted. Chapter 4. The Weight of Complicity. The disbelief that such calculated cruelty could exist, the shame of being complicit in a system that devoured the vulnerable, these were the demons that haunted Ji-hyun's waking hours. He grappled with the realization that his silence, his initial acceptance of the game's rules, had contributed to Yang-bae's demise. He was a survivor, yes, but at what cost? Had he become a monster in his quest to survive? The weight of his complicity was a crushing burden, a constant reminder of the moral compromises he had made. Chapter 5. The Spark of Defiance. But in the depths of his despair, something shifted. A flicker of resolve, a spark of defiance. He chose to channel his pain, to forge it into a weapon, a force for change. He would not let Yang Bei's death be in vain. He would honor her memory by fighting for the values she embodied, by challenging the very system that had taken her life. Not just for himself, but for every soul trapped in the game's insidious grip. He would become a symbol of resistance, a beacon of hope in the suffocating darkness, a testament to the enduring power of the human spirit to rise above adversity. Chapter 6. Despair and Betrayal. Despair is a suffocating darkness, a void that threatens to consume everything. At his lowest point, facing betrayal from those he trusted, surrounded by the overwhelming power of the game's architects, Ji Hyun could have easily succumbed to the abyss. The betrayal cut deep, the realization that those he had considered allies were merely pawns in the game's grand design. It was a stark reminder of the pervasive corruption that permeated every level of the system. A system designed to exploit and manipulate, to erode trust and sow discord. Chapter 7. Rebellion Ignited. But Yang Bei's death wasn't an ending. It was an ignition. It sparked a fire within him, a rebellion against the very system that had stolen not just lives, but the very essence of humanity. It was a refusal to accept the inevitability of despair, a defiant assertion of his agency in a world that sought to strip him of it. He didn't realize it then, but this was the genesis of his true fight, a battle against the forces that sought to dehumanize and control. Chapter 8. The Revelation of the Enemy. The betrayal wasn't just a personal wound. It was a stark reminder of the game's insidious nature, its ability to corrupt and manipulate. It was a revelation that the true enemy wasn't just the game itself, but the individuals who perpetuated its cruelty, who profited from the suffering of others. The loss wasn't just grief, it was a call to action, a demand for justice. It was a realization that mourning was not enough, that action was required to honor the memory of those who had been lost. Chapter 9. The Catalyst of Death. The constant threat of death wasn't a deterrent, it was a catalyst, a reminder that every moment was precious, every breath a defiance. It was a stark reminder of the fragility of life, the urgency of the present. It was a call to live with purpose, to fight for what mattered, to refuse to be defined by fear. All of it, the pain, the loss, the betrayal, fueled his resolve, forged him into something more than just a survivor. He understood that to dismantle this system, he had to become more than a player, more than a pawn. He had to become a symbol of resistance, a force they couldn't ignore, a beacon of hope in the suffocating darkness. He had to become the embodiment of the values he sought to protect, the embodiment of humanity in a world that had lost its way. Chapter 10. The Cost of Rebellion. The cost of rebellion is never cheap. It demands sacrifice, a willingness to relinquish everything for a cause greater than oneself. When Ji Hyun finally embraced this truth, when he accepted the sacrifices he had to make, he found the courage to stand against them, to challenge the very foundations of their power. He understood that true freedom was not about personal gain, but about collective liberation. It was about dismantling the structures of oppression, about creating a world where justice prevailed. Chapter 11. A New Understanding of Victory. And that's when everything changed. He realized that the game wasn't just about survival, about personal gain or fleeting glory. It was about something far more profound, breaking the chains of oppression, giving a voice to the voiceless, reclaiming humanity from the depths of despair. It was about restoring dignity to those who had been stripped of it, about empowering the marginalized, about fostering a sense of community in a world fractured by division. Chapter 12. The True Meaning of Victory. He understood that true victory wasn't about amassing wealth or wielding power. It was about dismantling the system that bred suffering, about creating a world where no one else would have to endure the horrors he had witnessed. It was about building a society based on empathy, compassion, and justice. He wasn't just fighting for himself. He was fighting for a future where hope could bloom again, where humanity could reclaim its dignity. He was fighting for a world where the echoes of loss would be replaced by the symphony of liberation. Life is a series of choices, a constant negotiation between circumstance and agency. And sometimes, the circumstances seem insurmountable, the odds stacked against you. But remember Ji-hyun's journey. Remember that it's not the circumstances that define you, but how you choose to respond, how you choose to rise. It's not about winning a rigged game, but about changing the rules, about challenging the very foundations of injustice, about refusing to be a pawn in someone else's narrative. Embrace your defiance, learn from your losses, and let them fuel your rebellion. Let them ignite a fire within you, a determination to fight for what's right, for what's just, for what's humane. Let them remind you of the inherent value of every human life, the importance of standing up for those who cannot stand for themselves. Let them inspire you to be a force for positive change in a world that desperately needs it. Let the memory of Yang Bei and all those who have been lost to injustice serve as a constant reminder of the stakes involved. Let their sacrifice inspire you to act, to speak out, to challenge the status quo. Let their legacy be a testament to the enduring power of the human spirit to resist, to overcome, to create a better future. What chains are you ready to break? What game are you ready to change? What injustices are you ready to confront? Share your story, let your voice be heard, and let's ignite a revolution together. Because even in the darkest of games, even when faced with overwhelming odds, the human spirit will always find a way to fight for freedom, for justice, for a better future. The fight isn't over. It's just begun. And you have a role to play. You have a voice to lend, a story to share, a fire to ignite. Join the rebellion. Break the chains. Reclaim your humanity. Let us build a world where the echoes of loss are replaced by the resounding chorus of hope, where the darkness of despair is banished by the radiant light of human compassion. Let us create a future where the human spirit triumphs, where justice prevails, and where humanity flourishes. Remember, the game isn't over. It's just beginning. Every loss fuels the fire of defiance. Every injustice calls for rebellion. You have a role to play, a voice to lend. Don't let the system define you. Break the chains. Challenge the rules. Fight for freedom, for justice, for humanity. Let the legacy of those we've lost ignite your purpose. Together, we can create a world where hope thrives, where compassion triumphs. Join the revolution. The future is in your hands. Subscribe. Share. Fight for what's right.